Hello, and welcome back to the Elemental I Ching. It's been a little while since I've had the time to come and do a video, so I'm a little behind. And I missed, while the sun was in this key of GK14, compromise as the shadow, competence as the gift, and bounteousness as the city. And I didn't want to compromise this video. I wanted it to be alive for me, and I've been traveling and moving a lot, and the holidays and all this energy has been keeping my attention very present to each goal at the moment, and not to leak energy out of some sort of expectation or need, that's a fire of desire that's outside this present moment. And that's where we compromise, right? It's our desires, especially when we feel the entropy, the emptiness, the muck of reality, and our desires reach out to desire something to change this entropy. And that's where we compromise our values and our experience. That's where we lean outside of our core stability in order to change, to attain, to get something over here, to satisfy this urge, right? Or competence, to hold those desires with lightness, with the fires of passion and creativity, passionate intent, so that the freshness of each moment is what we're dedicating that passion to. Competence feeds all that energy of desire. It feeds it back into the project, into the art, into life, into the freshness of each moment. And that's how we can be that creative fire that resonates at a very intelligent spectrum. It's a leadership key. There's this bounteous energy of passionate intent that others can rally around that fire, but it leads through yielding. It yields through yielding those impulses of looking outside of itself for satisfaction, but instead being the fire and the heaven, right? That's what this hexagram is all about, the fire in motion with heaven. The body of heaven, keeping our body fresh and alive in this present moment, and letting the fires, the passion and intent of the mind, of the upper trigram, to ignite reality. And bounteousness is that rapture of witnessing the beauty of life. That's the ever-flowing grail of bounteous creativity. And so I wanted to dive into this key a little bit, to feel into, some of these, where we lean outside of ourselves and lose our stability. This key in the I Ching is called Great Possession. It's usually an image of a wagon loaded up with treasure, usually from the story of Fuxi and the wise kings giving the endless, boundless treasure to the sage. And just imagining that overflowing bounteousness of life. And what a perfect time. Like, we just had a Thanksgiving celebration, a Thanksbeing celebration here at Wonderland with some of our dear friends and community members. And there's more holidays occurring right now. And I mean, obviously this is a tradition here in America, but the tradition of the Feast of Abundance of Gratitude is a world, connected experience. Come on in, my friend. And so understanding that this is not about, for me, personally, I chose to enter into this ritual not just about gorging oneself with the desires and the enrichments of the world and bypassing all of else that's going on right now in reality, but utilizing the passionate intent of gathering energy, of the family and the community gathering to celebrate the bounteousness of life, the beauty of life. And yes, we feast. And we feast both on food, on the harvest of this land. And I've been, every year, get closer and closer in some ways to right relation with the land. I grew up orphaned from understanding farming, from understanding where animals and plants that we've ingested our whole lives even come from. It's just a part of the conditioning. And there's a piece that was missing by that division from the truth of the land and the truth of the reciprocity of nature's cycles. So harvest is such a powerful reality. And I love this distinction between possession and harvest. right? Possession implies this kind of wealth, this grabbing inward, which the desire key is always trying to feed on the reality and to consume it this way, to feed some sort of hungry ghost inside. Whereas harvest acknowledges the natural abundance that life brings us. You know, the harvest each year, you can't hoard many of these vegetables. They won't be as tasty, they won't be as mineral rich, and eventually they even deflate and die and decompose back into the earth. Nothing is lost, right? It decomposes back into the earth. But there are these moments in time when we can harvest the gems of the abundance that have come to us from the earth, you know, from the land, from the people, giving thanks to this abundance that the reciprocity of nature is constantly cycling into us and as us, for us and with us. And to not be consumed by our unnatural desires that call us out of the moment, but being light and alive with the moment, to recognize, it's a time for feasts, it's a time for harvest, it's a time to receive from life. Thank you, life. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools we have. It is the oxygen of life as a human being. It is one of the most potent spells that we can realign the chaos of our reality around gratitude. For when we have plenty, be of thanks and share that plenty with your friends, your family, your community, and the whole world. And when we feel that poverty, when we feel that we don't have enough, when our resources are exhausted, we remember that there are others handling their suffering with grace, and we receive the prayers of bounteousness that all beings are able to open up to. You know, and we can't just acknowledging the depths of suffering and pain, and those who aren't being well nourished, and those who are lost, and those who are hurting others because they are lost. You know, compromise is a powerful agent of the shadow consciousness for our whole planet. It is the element of fire here, and fire can be very destructive and very out of balance. You know, that's why I pulled over my red Garuda Tonka here, Om Garuda Bim Bim. Right? This powerful practice of mine about sovereignty, about divine sovereignty, about claiming the sanctity of this vessel and filling this being with absolute light and passionate intent and discernment in the world, and cleansing and purifying all of those unconscious cords that I utilize to feel to try and get something out of life versus being sourced right here. As one of my teachers says, when we most are compromising our integrity, the structural integrity of our body, we slump inward, right? It's like the whole body wants to slump inward, and that's the worst thing we could do in that moment, because energy wants to move. It's like putting a kink in the hose, right? Competence is about allowing the channel to keep flowing, the courage to actually keep that fire lit. And sometimes we have to dig so deep into the darkness, you know, especially here in the Pacific Northwest, as it starts to get gray and cold and damp, and why would I leave, you know, the warmth of my cuddled up bed? And it's great to yield, it's great to receive that cave time, but it's also this time of generating the freshness in the body, of maintaining our energetic balance, and going into those dark, cold places and finding the spark. You know, finding, even if it's the tiniest spark of dark in the darkness of our life, or in our collective field right now. There's a lot of compromise happening on political, economic, government, social, inequality levels. So we find the spark. We find the healthy tissue. And we fan that spark, and we keep feeding that spark of light, that spark of love. You know, what would love do in this situation? And we fan that to come alive again inside us. Because one person enacting compromise in a situation can drain that whole situation. But one person acting in true competence can inspire the whole field to rise into that fire. So, you know, stay strong amidst these waves. Let us stay strong in the brilliant fire of who we really are. You know, the sun gives itself effortlessly and relentlessly creative heaven, the full yang pouring forth, and the fires of creativity, the imminent radiating beams from this infinite loving gift. This for me is the image to be harnessing right now. That bounteous, relentless, effortless love of the sun, of the radiance of who we really are, and that infinite source of energy. And so our habitual responses that seek something outside of us, whether it's food or drugs or sex or money or stories or recognition or our needs, right, from our partners or from our work environments, those are all these needs, these subconscious grasping out for something else. And we're secretly compromising our own integrity when we do that. It's not about not having values, right? Compromise, we don't have to compromise our values in a sovereign state, but we do need to cultivate being at ease instead of reaching out and compromising our own balance by reaching outside of our stability, our center point. So recognizing that sovereignty doesn't compromise its values. I hold this really strong for relationships. That for me, I'm really aspiring to this state where I don't need my partner to do something specific for me to be safe or be in love or be a good relationship, right? Separateness is a good thing sometimes. Even pain and triggers, they're all catalysts for great change. So recognizing, do I think I need my partner to be someone or something for me? Or do I think they need me to be something for them? Versus values. I have a value of communication. I have a value. I really respect and honor when you're able to come to me and share what's going on for you. But I have a value for that safe communication where it doesn't need to unravel into just back and forth projection. I hold that value. You may not. You may have a different value that needs to be met in your inner world. And when we can communicate our values, we don't have to compromise and give ourselves away. Now, an outer compromise, like, yeah, today I'm going to choose love because you value this so deeply, and I'm going to find a way where that can be loving for me and authentic for me to give that to you. Some of these compromises outside of ourselves, they don't have to be inner compromises. We don't have to compromise our truth. Even when I give to someone else, I come from this stability. That's my aspiration, to stay sovereign, stay true, and stay generous. The relentless generosity of the sun that can always give without actually depleting itself. So our habitual responses that reach outside of ourselves for those moments, they drain our vitality, they drain it. When ritual becomes habitual, not only has it lost its all meaning, but it starts to actually subtract from you. It starts to feed some other pattern that's not this infinite truth of who we really are and our highest beneficial, passionate intent. So recognize, where are my resources being draining? Where am I compromising my values? Where am I leaking from this overflowing cauldron of my truth, of my love? Because we've all been conditioned with certain archetypes, whether from our childhood or culture, whatever it is, where, to leak that love is love. No, compromise isn't that. Competence fills those cracks with gold and is in great possession and great harvest of the wealth of love, the overflowing centropic forces of being in right relation with self, with other, with nature, with life. So be mindful of where those habitual responses drain our energy. Where those desires pull us from the freshness of the present moment. And where we can stand strong. A good warrior doesn't fight, they stand strong. They stand strong for values beyond themselves. So recognize that power of standing in your sovereignty. And sovereignty, remember, sovereignty is being at ease with all of life. Not by compromising my truth, but recognizing that the waves of the universe are going to do their impermanent phenomena over and over again, testing us, trusting us, reminding us that we are something, this witness, this loving, powerful loving kindness of who we are is beyond the illusions and forces of destruction and manipulation, of confusion, of desire, of aversion, of all these pains, of suffering. It's not that we are separate from suffering, But suffering is an opportunity each time to feed those sensations deeper into the belly and to claim that beauty, that power, that passion and intent of who we are, and to be competent, to be, you know, to just like do it well. What else are we here to do? You know, it's okay. This isn't about judgment or blame. As always, I make this for myself. I look at myself in this mirror of this video to just be real. Like, just examine those places that I drain myself. You know, and stand strong in the fires of passionate intent, of the freshness of this moment. Commit to this moment deeper with love. And rise up into that competence so that our bounteous nature of our true loving kindness, loving kindness is infinite in its generosity, just like the sun, relentless, effortless, and infinite love. So I end you with my favorite quote right now. The Phoenix brought it to me several years ago. Is, you know, life, love, it's eternal. But this moment will never repeat itself. So live fully today. So many blessings.